You're listening to the Beer Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. Tune in every Wednesday night at 6:30 Pacific for a dose of beer and brewing banter with your hosts Ben Holm and Andrew Ziegler.
So hop aboard for a little wit and wisdom in the Pacific Northwest, because it's always beer 30 on
The Beer Craft. Welcome back to the Beer Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast, the show where we believe learning to brew should be as much fun as drinking the beer that got you into this mess.
Well, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ben, and today we're heading out into the fields. Kind of, because this episode is all about that rustic, dry, spicy, sometimes funky workhorse of a style, the Saison.
Part farmhouse ale, part yeast rodeo, and part history lesson. Saison is the style that shrugs off rules, shrugs off temperature limits, and still manages to make you look like a genius when you hand it to your friends.
It started as a beer for seasonal farm workers, people who spent their summers hauling hay, digging ditches, and getting paid in beer.
These days, the only seasonal workers most of us know are either gig economy drivers or podcast hosts.
So that might explain why we're drinking Saison right now. In this episode, we're going to cover how to brew one, why they're so weirdly flexible, and why the yeast is in the Saison might be the most dramatic character in your brew house.
Yeah, plus the style guidelines can't agree on what it is. Ray Daniels left it out of the design grade beers, and half of the best ones out there are fermented in uninsulated garages in August. In other words, it's our kind of style.
But before we climb into the fermenting chamber and crank it up to 95 degrees,
it's time for our favorite part of the show.
It's Beer 30. Oh, man. Andrew, how the hell are you?
Doing great, Ben. How about you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a rapid week since last time we sat in the studio.
Been a hot minute.
Well, it didn't feel like it. I felt like I just did this yesterday, and it was instantly behind the 8 ball again to get an episode put together before.
Yeah, what happened to the weekend?
A week of what?
The week away.
Yeah.
Another week away.
There's always next weekend for the shit I didn't do last weekend, I guess.
I did not mow my lawn, so I'm in trouble.
Well, that just hides the dog bombs a little bit better. Like deeper grass.
Yeah. Not good in my boat.
Not if you're prone to walking barefoot in the grass.
Yeah, and the amount of dogs I have and the amount of food they consume.
Yeah. There's some human-sized dukes out there.
It's a bag in, a bag out. I mean,
it's 50 pounds either way you fucking put it. Yeah.
Well, it's probably like half. Yeah. It's probably half. Yep. I'll buy a 45 pound of dog food.
You got to get the big yard waste.
And that thing is half full by the week.
Yeah. Well, I got some cool beers for us today.
What'd you bring?
Well, I didn't bring anything. These beers come to us courtesy of a listener, Zach. Hey, Zach, out there
Zach, all right.
Yeah, Zach is one of my students for a recent beer class. He's already on batch number 2. He's deep diving in all grain. Built a kegerator this weekend, and he went back home to Kansas City, Missouri, and brought us a selection of Saisons, his favorites.
Very nice.
From Boulevard Brewing in Kansas City, Missouri. We've got the Tank 7. We're going to start off with, and
now the Tank 7, I hear, is a style in the BJC style guides.
It is
the go-to professionally made one.
It is one of several long ones, like Saison DuPont. This is one of the modern ones from the 2022, I believe. It is mentioned in there.
It's very nice to be mentioned in the BJCP.
Heck yeah! So I'm excited. Get to I've never got to have Kansas City is not on my stomping grounds.
Yeah, I've had some Boulevard, but never the Saisons.
Oh, nice.
And I love my Saison.
Zach during class says these were his favorite beers. I'm like, oh man, that sounds pretty cool. Was nice enough to ferry these home all the way from
Thank you, Zach.
on the airplane.
So the Boulevard Tank 7 is an American Saison.
Yep.
Doesn't say much more than that.
Let's see. I've got some notes on that guy here. Let me fast forward through the back pages here.
It's 45 IBU.
So it says, step right up and gaze into the 8.5% wonder of the world. Tank 7 American Saison, a distinctly American twist on the classic Belgian style, unveils fruity aromatics, subtle spice, mingling with grapefruit hoppy notes and an elegant effervescence. Tank 7's a perfect paradox, world-class worthy, yet crafted for every day, and capable of transporting its drinker with one sip. whether it's VIP or BYOB, 5 stars or dive bars. Tank 7 takes you there. Hey, I like their writer for these. They sound a lot like me. That's pretty good.
Sounds good. You
yeah.
want to try that first?
Let's do that one. That one, we've talked about it. Now I'm thirsty.
It.
We've been talking for a whole 37 seconds or 3 minutes and 37 seconds. I don't know where we're at, but I'm thirsty every day. Turns out. And we're going to let you pour. Very good. I'm done pouring beer over spendy equipment. Oh, that's beautiful golden. Crystal clear. Good looking head on that for a gentle pour. I'm expecting something very nice here. Ooh.
I have a gentle hand.
Oh, the aroma's on.
Pours very nice.
I get a little like rose hip kind of on the nose a little bit. Okay, towers up.
Florally. Very light. It goes right down the back.
Yeah.
Right down your throat. So good.
So I get, I can get where they coming on the grapefruity kind of like
little grapefruit.
It's almost
flavor
like
on
the
sides, your tongue,
or more like the grapefruit pith, kind of like almost like a little bit of that in there. Yeah.
A little bit of carbonation.
Zach, buddy.
Hard. This is good.
Thank you, sir. This is pretty damn tasty. I get a little. You get a little bubble gum back on there.
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
A tiny bit.
Bubble gum ester.
It's not very. It's not very pronounced.
That's very highly carbonated. That prickles the tongue a lot.
It is nice. Now take a little tiny bit of what's in the bottle, and now dump that in your bottle, in your glass. There you go.
Oh yeah, little.
I'll give you a little flavor there.
Little something extra.
Yeah. You know, pour out.
It's a little bottle condition.
Pour out the first half, and take the clear stuff. Get a real flavor of what the clear beer tastes like, and then put that a little bit of that.
That is two different beers right there.
Yep.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pour that.
Yeah, what are these 16-ounce bottles? Yeah, roughly.
I'm blind.
Yeah, so remember that. Don't jostle these bottles, because they do have a tiny bit of sediment in the bottom. I don't think it was
12s.
I don't think it was cask condition. I don't think it was secondary.
It just
condition.
means this one was the second one on our lineup today is actually a cask condition.
That's cask condition, not
cask
bottle.
aged.
Yeah, not bottle condition.
Yeah, and I was apparently very gentle on the way over here.
You did a great job.
They did not shake it.
Well, you had them in your cooler.
I did,
so
and they're wedged in there, so they
get
didn't
them stable.
They didn't even clink, which is great because I cannot stand the sound of clinking glass in my car.
Yeah.
While I'm not drinking it.
Oh,
it's terrible.
Reminds you of drinking?
And then I get mad. No, I just hate that noise. I just can't do it.
Well, have a beer bottle full of water.
Ooh, this beer.
And then you can feel like it.
Oh, and that'll get you pulled over too.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. I wasn't drinking, officer. Super good, huh?
That's pretty damn tasty. So according to BJCP, we got pale, refreshing, highly attenuated, moderately bitter, moderate strength Belgian ale with a dry finish. Okay, I'm gonna give it
dry finish.
I'm gonna give it the dry finish in a heart.
Moderately bitter for real.
Sure, for sure.
Yep.
Refreshing.
Taste that.
Yeah. Highly attenuated. Not a lot of sweetness not a lot of malt backbone.
No.
So I'm gonna give it.
I got a little tiny bit of sweetness out of it. Tiny bit. Just on the tip of your tongue.
I got that. It's pale, and kind of a Belgian characteristic to it. It's got a little bit of the definite ester, ester and phenol profile that I would expect to see. Appearance: pale versions, pale orange, maybe pale gold to amber, golden amber. There are darker versions too. I think this one goes it's 2 to 22 SRM or something like that. So huge latitude. Aromas should be quite aromatic, fruity, spicy, hoppy. So moderate to medium or moderate to high ester profiles.
Yep. It's meeting it.
Citrus fruit, oranges and lemons. If they're talking grapefruit, that's in that camp for sure. Flavor, medium low to medium high, fruity and spicy flavors, supported by low to medium soft malt character with some graininess. Bitterness is typically moderate to high, although sourness can be present in place of bitterness. Though sour is not a function of the style necessarily. There are soured versions, but not prototypical. Mouthfeel, light to medium. Alcohol sensation varies with strength. I get a little alcohol in this one at 8.5%.
A little.
It's saying hello rather
Perfectly.
assertively. I like it. I like it a lot. The vital statistics. IBUs 20 to 35, although suggestions, SRM 5 to 14 for pale versions, 15 to 22 for dark versions. 1048 to 1065 original gravities. Really dry finishing, so typically 1.002 to 1.008.
That's high.
Not a lot left on this. Some early examples are reported at like 2.5%, all the way up to 9.5%. I think the BJCP does break it down into table, standard, and super version. So they kind of different. So from a judging perspective,
of the lower end compared to the, I want to bump this up to an IPA-ish style.
Yeah, and I think they've kind of broken it apart just so that a table can effectively, if they lump all the, like, you guys are going to drink the light ones, you guys are going to drink the boozers, and Frank, you don't get any, you've had too much.
Yeah, I don't think that's how you should do it.
Well, in terms of, like, if you're trying to evaluate, they've kind of broken it up,
right.
Like session, they got session beers, they've got
right, but you shouldn't give all the session
double
beers
IPAs
to one table, right? And give all the boozy beers to another table.
Depends on how big it's too big. How big the field is. If you've only got 300 entries and 60% of those went to the IPA table, you may only have enough beers for a category. You might lump them all together, and they might all be on the same table. But at least you're going to do the
yeah.
You're going to evaluate the lighter versions.
I mean, I feel like the judging should go in stages for all the judges. Because I've been 8 hours of judging.
It's a lot.
Pales or IPAs.
Yeah.
And after a few hours, you can't.
You've got to break that stuff
overloaded.
up. Yeah, you've got to break that stuff.
Right. So if you did start each judge with kind of everybody's lighter, and then it goes on from there. And
yeah, I think they generally do a pretty good job of separating, of at least rotating everybody through, so that and giving enough breaks,
right?
So your mouth isn't blown out by the end of it. You're not gonna.
It was a long time ago when I judged.
Yeah, it's been it's a whole. That's a day. That's whole
another
thing.
deal. Yeah.
So back to the BJCP, they do give some commercial examples, and right at the last minute, Boulevard's Tank 7 farmhouse right on there. But also Elizois Saison, Fantôme Saison. Fantôme is a cool one.
Say that one again.
Fantôme, the Phantom.
No, the other one.
Elizois.
Elizois.
It's French. I don't fucking know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Le Fer Saison 1900 Saison DuPont. That is probably your prototypical. Like, if you want to hear about a Saison,
farmhouse,
that's the gold standard. We will, in the show notes, I
am salivating right now.
Yeah. We are gonna put recipes for the. I got a Fantôme clone. Fantôme Saison, they change it every year, but I do have a version.
That way you
clone
can
respecific.
Yeah, you could buy
and a Saison DuPont.
Have a vertical tasting.
That would be fun. But we'll put those in the show notes. I'll put make those available for everybody.
Beer just doesn't last that long around my house.
I'm thirsty every day too.
It doesn't. And I mean, I do have a couple of beers, but for general, it's I gotta really buy me a special beer I'll drink it here, man. I'll be like, hey, I got a hold of this. We'll drink it.
Kind of why I like this show is I get to branch out and buy or drink beers that I may not naturally gravitate to.
Right.
But because I'm going to do a show about barrel aged, blah 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 blah. I was like, I better go find one and check it out.
Right.
Saisons, I love saisons.
Sometimes they're hard to find though.
They're not. We're going to talk about that. They're not. They're not widely distributed.
Right, no.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of people make them.
They're not complicated in terms of brewing, but
I think they're probably a little less percentage of the market.
Yeah, way like everything else.
Yeah. So I mean,
100% of the market, 40% of the market is
you're looking
IPA.
You're looking at it from a business standpoint.
Other 100 styles are dividing up the remainder.
You gotta love the saison.
Yeah.
Or your brewmaster's gotta love the saison.
Well, these beers are also prone to blowing up in the bottle, and we're going to talk about why.
Oh, we'll talk about that. Good. Well, why could maybe bacteria?
Well, I don't want a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah. Stay tuned. I'm gonna reveal all.
Virile yeast.
I'm thirsty. I ran out of beer.
I'm done with beer.
We should. We have 3 short pours.
Yeah. Well, we could pour while we talk about saison.
Sure could.
We better drink saison while we talk about saison.
I think it's possible. I think it's highly.
I think that's
appropriate. I think it's highly appropriate we do so.
So stick around.
When we get back, we're unmasking saison. So come on back.
My favorite farmhouse, anything ale.
That's right.
Right here on the Beer Craft.
This place feels off.
That's because it's fermenting. Dark ales, stouts, and porters, all crafted to perfection with the equipment and guidance from Northwest Brewers Supply.
Fermenting? You mean this isn't some paranormal event?
Only if you consider perfect beer supernatural.
The answers you seek are brewing at Northwest Brewer Supply. Visit us in Burlington or at nwbrewers.com. Make your next beer your best beer.
So what is a saison, and why is it weird?
Hey, Ben.
Oh,
Ben.
yeah.
Oh, hey.
What?
We
Wait.
have another beer.
Another beer. Oh, my gosh, another beer. Oh, my gosh.
I know it's a little past beer 30, but
we
do have extra.
That's the great thing about beer 30. If you try hard enough, every time, it's always
time
beer
you
30.
drink,
It's always beer 30
30
somewhere. Yep,
right?
remember, it's always beer 30 on the beer
Always
craft.
beer 30.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
On the Beer Craft.
What do we got?
We've got another Boulevard, like we said.
Yeah.
This is a Chardonnay cask saison.
Mm-hmm.
Cask aged ale.
Chardonnay cask.
Yep.
I hope it doesn't have any butteriness to it. I'm diacetyl sensitive.
Are you?
And yeah.
And does the Chardonnay seem to tend
the
to
buttery
impart
flavor of Chardonnay is from diacetyl, and that's why I freaking hate it.
Wow.
And I know I was this
Are you
years
not
old. When I
drinking
figured,
am I drinking Chardonnay too
you're
cold?
drinking it without me, man.
I'm drinking it too cold, maybe.
Maybe that's better because if it's white
Right.
wine's generally chilled and
Right.
and that numbs your tongue to the diacetyl bomb.
yep.
I don't. Some people like that
Or
buttery.
maybe I was just drinking
not that thing.
just crappy Chardonnay that they couldn't afford to put the diacetyl
I
in.
remember the first Chardonnay I ever had, and I was like 21. Was gonna have company over for dinner. It was like, so it made a big like pork roast and like pork loin roast and vegetables.
Doing your best.
And I was like, we're gonna get a Chardonnay. I don't
this
know fucking shit about wine,
dinner
so like
party.
it's Chardonnay. I know that one. And I fucking hated it. But my girlfriend hated it even worse. So I had to drink the whole thing. I drank that whole bottle because my friends never showed up for dinner. And so I got wine drunk on Chardonnay. I'm like, man, I really don't like that fucking wine. But let's try the beer. Oh, the aroma is cool. Almost get like a ginger snap, cinnamon on the nose. Oh, that smells really. You guys can't smell it.
No,
just scratch your speaker
I can't
and I'll
smell it
hold
either.
it up to the microphone.
I think I'm having a nose fart.
Bad nose day. Nose fart.
You can't smell anything. Tastes good. Smooth. It's got this.
Oh, the oak plays really. The vanilla from the
vanilla.
oak. Yeah.
It does have this a little bit of a caramely diacetyl flavor.
It's got a caramely.
Tiny bit.
I didn't get any movie theater
Butter?
popcorn.
No
or
butter?
buttery. Yeah. Thank God. I hate
Just
it.
a little caramely. tiny bit of caramel.
caramely and the
vanilla,
like, toffee and
yep.
vanilla from the oak.
Yeah, it's really good. And then from this one, I get a little
Zach, you are the dude. You
Thank
are
you,
the
Zach.
man. Thank you.
I get a little bit of like the tongue effervescent carpet. So good.
Oh, that's tasty.
Oh yeah, where it goes over my tongue and the layer over the tongue just all turns to bubbles and
Yeah, I get that. Beer 30 2.0, folks.
yeah. Oh, so
we're gonna we got a show. We're gonna talk about some fucking Saison.
So
We're
tell
not
me
just gonna
about
drink
why
it.
does the Saison do that to my tongue?
Well,
This rustic farmhouse ale.
okay. So a Saison, rustic farmhouse ale. It's got kind of a weird resume.
Sketchy.
Sketchy. Yeah. Well, I think some of the farmhouse tends
Yeah.
to give
weird-
impressions of like dusty barns with
Yeah.
with
Tastes
owls
like-
in the rafters.
Tastes like the bottom of your
and-
boot
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
But it does not. That's not the case. Farmhouse really
way.
just meant, hey, we were brewing at home with the
Ingredients
we had. Yeah. What did
the
we
yeast
grow?
we
We
had.
had some wheat in season. We had some barley. Maybe we had some oats. Maybe we had some whatever.
So maybe another marketing thing that actually screwed up like sour beers, that these should be called more of a terroir
Right.
beer.
Um,
Wine is very terroir.
one of the original
is so
stories about this
as
beer
well.
was that it was originally for field laborers. The farmer or the owner would brew during the winter, so he had something to, satiate the thirst of his
Yep.
hired hands during the summer when they're,
They're hot.
knee deep in harvest land.
Yeah. The sun's out longer. You got
Right.
Yeah, you got to give the guy something.
Yeah, and that story is it's pervasive when you do a little Saison research, but it's also kind of dubious. It's a good story for marketing purposes. Like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
I'm feeding beer to my field workers. How cool am I?
Whenever you
Yeah.
bring beer in somewhere and you give beer away, you bring a 5-gallon keg.
Well, how
I
many?
mean, and you bring it and you give it to somebody or a group of people or whatever they're doing, a contribution to raise the
workforce,
spirits.
yeah.
To raise the spirit. Everybody loves it. Oh my God.
Well, how many couches have you moved for your friends for the promise of beer?
Oh,
All
many,
of them,
many.
right?
And a bed.
The pyramids, they weren't slaves building the pyramid. They were actually paid 3 gallons of beer a day per person.
Yeah.
For life. Imagine
gonna
that
do
for
this.
job security. Like
Wait a minute.
your
You
cousins,
work-
your cousins' kids and kids
You
and 3
work there,
generations.
you build the pyramids.
Everybody's getting beer.
Everybody's getting beer for life.
Yeah,
And
forever.
I'm too old.
That's like winning that's winning the lottery, right? Like you get a job and 3 gallons of beer per day per person forever. Perpetual into 3 generations of your family. How fucking cool is that?
3
or 4 or 5,
gallons
whatever.
of beer a day.
That's a lot of beer, man. Like that's a lot of. I imagine the Nile special was not 8.5%.
8 pints. 8 pints.
8 pints to the
Oh,
gallon.
I know.
But you're
Oh,
in the desert, so you got to be drinking 2 gallons of water
That's
a
right.
day,
So
right?
it needs
Like-
to be 2% alcohol.
all right, we're
So
diverging rapidly.
Well, no. What is the Saison low ABV for the style? It's very low, right? 3.9 or
Could have
3,
been.
3.
Some of them, some of those could have been lower ABV. If you're working all day, you don't want to be trashed
Nope.
while you're working.
No.
So I can see a
Need a little
case for
sustenance.
lower ABV beers.
I like that.
So the word saison in French means season. The field workers that it was supposed to have been feeding during the hot August days in Belgium, those are the saisonnières.
Oh,
Seasonal workers. So that's kind of cool.
That is very cool.
It was interesting though. This style is barely qualifies as style, and we're gonna unpack that statement a little bit.
It's
But
almost
it
like
was
a
definitely
it's almost like a big style.
this was definitely
It's a super style.
this was one that predates commercial brewing. This is the homebrew backyard in history.
I mean, we thought we could do something with fucking Kvike yeast, man.
Well, we were talking about
can
farmhouse
go-
beers
Yep.
with Kvike 2
We
weeks
can-
ago.
We can go way more.
This is
in
it's
depth with
appropriate here.
This style.
So that farmhouse, what did you brewed with what you had? right? Barley, sure. Wheat, yep. Spelt, why not? Whatever's available. This is the OG Belgian homebrew. And Jesus, this cask one is delicious too. Excuse me while I drink that. Oh, you know
and then what we're fermenting this up to 95 degrees.
Ooh, you
So, I
sure
mean,
can.
So this could be fermented in our farmhouses.
This is, so the history
During the
says like
summer.
it's brewed in the wintertime, and that may be true, but also at this point in time, refrigeration's not a thing, so it's very hard to keep beer from spoiling, and this is where some of those Brettanomyces versions start to come into play, but would have been brewed year-round. Belgian yeast, on the whole, tend towards liking warmer fermentation temperatures. And there's specific reasons for that as well. Without jumping too far ahead in my notes here, Saison yeast are actually closer to wine yeasts than beer yeast, and so the higher
Now, how is
temperature
that
affinities.
possible?
Well, I'll explain it in a bit.
In the genome?
In the genome, we did some cool stuff.
Nice. Okay.
So, basic Saison is what happens when a beer style it kind of ghostwrites its own BJCP style entry at 2 a.m. during a heat wave. This one is pretty broad. If you're to look, we were talking about the BJCP style guidelines earlier during Beer 30. Did you notice how big those ranges were? 2.5% to 9.5%.
2 to 22
5 to
SRM,
22 SRM. Hot bitterness from medium to high to who cares levels. This is barely encompassing a style. We have a huge range of opportunities. You can almost whatever you want to do. If you throw a Saison yeast at it, poof, it's a Saison.
Right.
Poof,
it's a Saison.
So
I grant you. You get a Saison. You get a Saison.
Everybody
gets a
Everybody's
Saison.
drinking. Oh, well, I'm gonna drink another Saison.
You drink a Saison.
Master Jules, why do we brew all this beer every summer? Would it be faster to drink from the well?
The well? You mean the Le Soup de Cholera? You want to risk your intestines turning into liquid just to save 10 minutes?
But, Sir Master Jules, we are using up all the grain.
Exactly. The grain wants to be beer. Beer doesn't kill you. Beer doesn't smell like the old cabbage and regret. Beer keeps the saisonniers from quitting when the wheat's only half cut.
Sir Jules, I know it's but 90 degrees out. Is that too hot to ferment?
Not for her. She loves the heat. She thrives in it. She's spicy. She's dry. She's better than my ex-wife.
Is that why you named it the last batch after her?
No, I named the last batch in spite of her.
Honestly, tastes cleaner than that. Well, drink our water.
Of course it does. That's why we brew. Now stir that mash before she throws a fit. So, Saisons, Saisons are going to come to us all the way from Wallonia, which is a little itty bitty spot. It's a Belgian, it's a French speaking part of Belgium.
And it's where they speak French in Belgium?
Well, I mean, the border, you're right there.
Yeah, right there.
You're right on near the
so that
border.
tells me that somebody was disgruntled, moved the border over.
Oh
and took
man, borders are
advantage of
just
the French.
imaginary lines anyway.
Imaginary. I've seen them pretty.
It's not like it's
tall,
etched in
pretty
stone.
Pretty tall borders before. I've seen them like serpentine down the hill.
Still an imaginary line that somebody else cared about.
Somebody
So
does care
we mentioned
about
it earlier.
It's true.
In Wallonia, these were not commercial operations. These were family farms. These were farm estates or, brewing with whatever was in season.
Yeah.
You can expect to see oats or spelt, which is a barley variant or wheat variant. I don't know.
Right.
It's in my notes.
Depends on who's growing what, and maybe what somebody had left over.
Yeah.
You know, if you're growing a couple fields of spelt and you're selling it down the road, and you've got
You spill a bag, make some beer out of it.
Bags, hey, just holler down to the brewer. Take it to the brew house.
And that farmhouse, we talked about it. Farmhouse does not mean funky. Certain
or wild. It doesn't mean funky or wild.
Nope. I think these were deliberate beers. The fact that some of those styles were soured with, say, Brettanomyces, which has a beautiful affinity with the beer, doesn't, it's not necessary. This Saison doesn't taste sour because of kind of those, citrus forward.
A little bit
citrusy
sour, a little bit of the barrel sour,
or citrusy acidic, but not sour. It's not lactic. It's not Brettanomyces. It's not pedio.
It's tart. It's a tart beer. Well, according to legend, there's a seasonal winter brewing tradition to quench the thirst of the farmhands in August. It's a good story for a marketing department, but probably not true.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit from Gordon Strong, who wrote most of the style descriptions for the BJCP. He's like, yeah, it's interesting marketing, but probably not the typical presentation there. So why is it wild? What's up with that? This is a special kind of yeast. We mentioned it a minute ago that it's closer to wine yeast. Remember 2 weeks ago we did that Kvike episode, and one of the things that we talked about was that the Kvike strain had been tested. They did the full genome testing with that strain, and they put it in the Beer 1 category of yeast. That one confused me, so I had to do a little digging between now and then. And basically, they got Beer 1 group, which is going to have your ale yeast, predominantly your ale yeast, your English and American as two separate branches. In fact, the American ale yeast are not necessarily derivatives of English ale yeast. They are unique to our borders, but they're pretty close. They're in the same kind of like taxonomic branch of the beer tree.
Right. But
below that, you get into German yeast, and they kind of branch off, and that's the Beer 1 group. In the Beer 2 group, these guys are closer to wine yeast. They're all Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but these guys share closer parentage or lineages to, red wine and white wine strains of Sac cerevisiae. And kind of these, there's also in there kind of those mixed culture ferments. Now, Kvike might have originally started, or was probably originally thought of it to be kind of over there, but that research, the full genome mapping, puts Kvike in Beer 1. Saison strains are in the Beer 2 group and definitely closer to wine yeast. So that explains some of the high heat tolerance. You look at some of your average wine yeast, EC118, D47, and these are all very unsexy catalog numbers for yeast.
EC1118.
It's fine. It gets all the press. Champagne yeast. She is the workhorse.
But it could ferment a little hotter, yeah.
She can go hot. She also has the really cool temperature range. So she has the ability to ferment at like 45 to 95 degrees. She doesn't care about a lot of things, and that's pretty much why she gets a lot of the press.
Right.
However, these wine yeasts, we can see that they are more heat tolerant, which is kind of interesting. So the high attenuation, spicy phenols, fruity esters, heat-loving properties put her closer to wine yeast.
Okay.
One other weird bit. The Saison strains are what's called a diastatic variant yeast. There is a gene, I think it's the SBA1 gene, that has when turned on, as in the Saison yeast, has the ability to convert longer chain dextrins into fermentable sugars, or into alcohol. This is the same kind of Brettanomyces has this ability too. Long-term Brettanomyces will chew dextrins over time and produce more alcohol out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even in long conditioned examples, the Saison strains also have that ability. And in fact, they'll label that because that diastatic variant was one that was often seen as a, oh my God, that's fucked up, get it out of my brew house kind of fault.
Now, is this a different enzyme then?
No, it's in the genes of the yeast.
It's in the genes of the yeast in order to do
convert
something like the enzymes do.
It breaks down. They can consume the longer chain dextrins.
Okay.
The bigger, clunkier ones.
That's what
Yep.
usually.
They have they produce glucoamylase all by themselves. So that enzyme breaks down longer chain dextrins
Right,
into
okay.
smaller pieces,
That's
and then
amazing.
they ferment them. Which is why most of these have why Saisons had a tendency towards
See, I told you, man.
blowing up in the bottle.
The super style.
Yeah, the
Superman.
highly attenuative.
No bottle can hold him.
Yeah. They would kind of go off in the packaging from this diastatic variant, which is kind of cool.
That is very cool. That's a really cool condition of the yeast.
Yeah. So it used to be a fault, and like other breweries would like, oh, keep that shit out, keep that diastatic shit out of my brew house because you'll blow up all my beers. French and Belgian was like, you know what? We're just gonna play nice with it. So the high effervescence of these beers.
Yep.
You can see some of that from that diastatic variant.
Bam.
Yeah. The dry
I
finish.
love
That
that.
one. What do we see? Like
102?
1.002. Yeah, that's
I mean,
redonkulously dry.
There's maybe one time that I had my beer attenuate out to O2.
Yeah.
You know.
I did it I got it 1.00 on a brute IPA. Did the extra enzyme for that. Like,
Gross.
oh, it
It'd
was
be like water.
it was
It'd be like,
bone dry. It was a crispy boy.
Just drink it down, it's gone. All of a sudden, you're like, if it's 7% though, I'm like, I mean, you're
It's
like
a
drinking
goddamn.
that like water, which actually might be kind of a cool thing. I mean, like 7% hop water.
That'll get it done.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more kind of like weird bit about these Saison strains.
What's that?
Some of the Belgian versions like to stall at like 10:30. It's like it's like an inborn siesta. They're just
Yeah.
going to take a break.
Same temperature.
Yeah,
same
they don't care. Like
conditions.
10:30, and they're just going to knock
They're like,
down.
oh, I don't take a nap or
Yeah,
what?
a lot of the consensus in the research is that these strains are sensitive to pressure. And your airlock or your blow-off hose actually creates a little bit of back pressure in order to overcome
Some of it,
some of it.
bubbles, croissant.
Yeah.
this,
Well,
that.
yeah, just
hops,
in your
stuff, whatever.
3-piece airlock, that little itty bitty bell.
Yeah.
In order to float that, it's going to create a little bit of back
little bit of back
pressure in
pressure,
order to do
right.
that. If you have a blow-off hose, it's going down into a little bit of water. The
That's
deeper
how
you
you
have
feel.
your hose into your water,
Yeah. The more air
More
pressure
back
you
pressure
need to
that's gonna be-
push. Yep.
and these yeasts can be rather sensitive
Oh.
to it.
They don't like pressure.
It hates it. They'll eventually get over it. Like
They
they'll,
like wussy yeast.
yeah. But at 10:30, they'll generally stall, and your cure for that is either pitch other yeast that doesn't care about it for the last, whatever gravity points, wait it out, or you can do an open fermentation, and this is actually pretty easy. If you're brewing in a carboy, a big carboy. If you're doing 5 gallons, you better have a 6.5 gallon carboy. But just loosely tent your foil over the top of that and just kind of crimp it around so it doesn't fly off.
Done that many times.
Just a little bit, and it's still gonna let everything out.
right.
And that's still an open ferment. You could do that. You could shove a piece of foam in the airlock post,
I think I've shaken it a little.
and that would reduce the pressure in order to off gas and keep all the bugs out.
Shake it a little bit, and
Yeah.
that'll like start the off gassing, and that'll push the pressure
Yeah.
through that airlock.
It's interesting. Yeast 3711, that yeast strain, the French Saison, does not stall at 10:30.
At all?
No,
Okay,
it's
so
a
not
workhorse.
pressure sensitive.
It is not. It doesn't care. In fact, if you're sick of waiting for your Belgian Saison to finish at 10:30, you could pitch 3711 on it, and it would take it the rest of the way, no problem.
All right.
Yeah.
Just take it for the ride.
There are those who think that 3711 might be a little too clean in terms
Right,
of the
okay.
Saisons, but I love the strain. I love
Is that
working
what's-
with it.
Is that what's in the batch, the Tank 7?
That I do not know.
Okay.
It tastes a little more complex.
Is that what's in this next Saison we're going to drink?
We do have a wild sour.
West Side
turmeric.
Wilds.
Yeah, well, pop
Three
the top.
jokers.
I don't know what any of the yeasts are. I'm not privy to that information, as so many of us are
This
not.
is another Boulevard. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, Zach, you're killing it tonight. Fuck, these beers are tasty.
This is the best beer 30 we've had.
This is pretty damn tasty. This is pretty damn tasty. Man, I really like that cask one.
Okay.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, so this is the Three Jokers West Side Wilds. And a trio of elements, Brett, lacto, and oak, transform this imperial wit into something truly special, inoculated with Brettanomyces and lactobacillus.
Man, I'm hoping for some horse blanket.
And aged in Chardonnay. Oh, another Chardonnay cask one for several months. Three Jokers drinks with a crisp dryness, subtle acidity,
God, I'm drooling.
and a refined French oak finish, reminiscent of a natural wine. It proves that when it comes to wild fermentation, 3 really is the magic number.
Man, don't fear the funk, kids. That's all I gotta say. Shit is. Let's see how this goes. He's pouring. Oh, that's pretty. Another pale.
Very pale.
Not a lot of head. Not a lot of head on that. These aged ones.
I'm a gentle pourer.
Yeah.
I have both eyeballs.
Yeah.
Depth perception, I can see.
See how far you're going now.
And I have a steady hand.
So while we're doing that, I was doing a little, digging for this show, and I came across a page from the Maltose Falcons. This is a 50-plus. It's the oldest homebrew club in America.
That's amazing, and they're still
over
going strong.
Yeah. They're still
All
great.
Maltose Falcons.
50
Let's hear
plus
from
years
you
there,
guys.
yeah, out of California.
That's pretty cool.
They put together a little style guide or a yeast guide for the different saisons that are out there, and
Okay.
we're going to go through a few of them while we have time. But we will put that whole list. We will link to that page, and we'll provide that in the show notes as well. The first one on their list was the Danstar or Lallemand Danstar division, the Belle Saison. Sadly, this one is no longer available in 5-gallon pitch size. The 11-gram package has been discontinued.
I wonder why.
The explanation I received as a retailer was that yeast was being moved to a different plant because the plant it was being propagated in was going to be the full-time organic and gluten-free plant, and that strain does not grow up on a gluten-free medium.
Doesn't fit. Yeah.
So they moved it to a different plant where they can prop it up, but that plant did not have the 11-gram packaging size.
Oh.
So they weren't going to do
So
that. It's
they're
like, oh, that's a
throwing it to
sad
breweries.
phase. Yeah.
What
So
are they packaging it in? Like
the next
5
size up
gallons?
is like the brick, the 100, the big fat.
Oh, okay. Dry. That's a dry yeast.
Dry yeast.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a dry yeast. It is a reliable fermenter. Light spicy phenols, black pepper, little light banana esters. It's fun. Oh yeah. We had a new beer, and he's going crazy.
That is good. That is tart. Now that is tart right there. Such an amazing difference in the other two. The other two are wonderful. Super glad we saved this for last. Barrel aged like this, West Side Wilds. Okay, Three Jokers. Got a picture of Three Jokers. When they do the harvest, they stand the grain up in the fields.
Oh,
they have those
yeah.
stacks. So there's a stack of the grain on the label with 3 jester-looking guys dancing around it, and each of the jesters has like a deer fawn with it like acting all crazy dancing. And actually, the deer fawn is like 5 times the size of the Joker. They're like really big deer fawns. A really cool label.
That is cool. God, it's tasty beer.
God,
Jeez.
it's really good.
I'm not getting. I'm
Naturally.
Don't get any Brett like horse blanket, which I really love. But I mean, it's a little bit on the back, and there's a little bit through the nose of that farmhouse.
What is that word?
Brett.
Oh, naturally soured, imperial wit, ale aged in Chardonnay.
It's probably what happens when the barrel just sits there. Wow, that is cool. That is some cool artwork. I need some magnifying glasses, that's for sure. That's some good fine line stuff.
That's so good.
I did get update. Danstar did put out a farmhouse yeast, another Saison strain, another dry in the 11-gram package. We brought that one to the shop. I have not got to play with it. A couple of my customers have, and they've seemed to enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to brewing with that one again. East Coast Yeast Company, we don't carry those. I'll put those in the show notes. Fermentis does have a Safale BE 134. It's according to the Maltos Falcons, they're saying it's a little more interesting than your French Saison. I love French Saison, but a little more complexity sounds pretty
like
good.
Complexity in the
Dry,
that
dusty
tart note.
cinnamon, more earthy than hot, with low pear fruit ester, and that's making me thirsty. Touch of banana, fruit combined with earthy cinnamon, touch of clove, very, very dry. Hint of perceptual sweetness from some of the fruity characteristics. That sounds like a fun one. I might have to try BE 134 from Saf Ale. That's Fermentis. Giga Yeast we'll put on the show notes. Mangrove Jack. They have an M29 French Saison.
Now, Giga Yeast, where's this at? Where's
Giga Yeast, I think, is another East Coast lab.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Craft
Craft
yeast,
Lab,
okay.
Craft, yeah, Giga, yeah. So, there's more people on the East Coast, but yeast is, particularly in liquid format, doesn't travel great.
No.
You've got to move it rapidly on ice.
Yeah. And we have plenty of labs on this coast.
Oh, you know what? That was another interesting thing about the Beer 2 group of Sac Cerevisiae. More of the Beer 2 group yeasts will survive the desiccation process, or the freeze drying and desiccation that give us dry yeast.
That's
a lot of your Beer 1 group just don't survive that process, and that's
why we don't
more
have
flavors.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
we
kind
only
of cool.
have SF 04 and 05.
Right,
pretty much.
They survive it. I mean, there's S33 and TM 3470.
Yeah,
and lager.
you can make everything
there's a
with
lot,
4 and 5.
but they don't have all of the flavors that are available in yeast.
Right.
In liquid, but the Beer 2 group has more.
Available.
They survive that, and which is why all wine yeast is dry. You don't generally see liquid wine yeast.
I did not know that.
Weiss has some liquid wine yeast, but
Yeah.
I've never played with them.
I've never made wine.
You should do that. Wine is pretty tasty too. Turns
I
out,
love wine.
it's just about as easy to make.
Just like cider.
Mm-hmm.
Wine,
You may have-
cider.
White Labs does have some stuff. WLP 072, the French ale. It's a Bière de Garde strain. And this is kind of Belgians, Bière de Garde. Saisons, they're called in the same family tree. That one's kind of fun.
And if you ever get down to Southern California, go visit White Labs.
Yeah.
You can go there and drink beer, buy yeast. You can go sample. They usually have things going on where they have different beers with different, the same beer with different yeasts.
Oh,
Like,
that's a fun way.
yep.
That's a fun way to round out your kegerator too. I generally brew 10-gallon batches and split the yeast into 2 5-gallon fermenters, and I get better mileage in my kegerator. White Labs
4 different
also
beers in 2
has
batches.
White Labs also has WLP 561. It is a non-STA1 positive yeast blend. That STA gene, that's that diastatic variant. So they have a Saison without it. Interesting, that farmhouse strain from Danstar that just came out, the new farmhouse one, that is also a non-diastatic variant. So if you're worried about, it can, doing a homebrew and aging it in a bottle for a year and not having it blow up, that might be a concern for you. Or you just want to generally keep it out of your brew house in case, that's how we got, a lot of cultured yeast. Shit just grew up in the landscape.
It just goes.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Oh man, there's so many good Saison yeast. Who else is on this list? So Belgian yeast, Belgian Ardenne from Wild, 3522 Belgian Ardennes from Weiss. You could use that for a Saison.
Yep. 1056 for a
3711.
Saison?
I saw that one too. Oh no, that one in the notes just says that is a control yeast.
That's control
Yeah,
yeast.
Yep.
Okay, so
They're
like,
comparing against that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or let's say my Belgian didn't attenuate. Throw some 1056 in there.
Yeah.
Get it to go the rest of the way down.
Oh yeah, if you're using a Belgian strain.
Yeah.
There's some cool notes in here. 3724 Belgian Saison from Weiss.
Cool.
Big phenol, fruit, a lot of fruit. Mentions in the show notes, or in the notes here, pitch with WLP 565 for some really cool flavors. So 3724 and WLP 565 ought to make a pretty tasty beer. It mentions 3711 has a leathery, big fruity nose, spicy black pepper and cardamom, but approachable. I see some of the other reports I read is like, 3711's a little too plain. I'm like, leathery, big fruit nose, spicy black pepper, cardamom. Well, that's a lot of flavors, man.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound bland at all.
Doesn't.
And I tend to agree. I don't think it's a bland yeast. I think it's a fantastic yeast. I love it. Bright hoppy Saison, Citra Saison. That one's a fun one. I do a
Citra Saison.
I do a Citra rye
Citrus.
Saison every year. Like, I turn up the volume on the peppery with the rye malt, and I turn up the citrus with a little lemon peel in there, just to boost the flavors the yeast is already producing. I just turn everything to 11, and it's pretty fucking tasty. We usually do that one as a seasonal offering. The Citra rye Saison is pretty tasty.
Citra rye.
Dry finishing, ferments at 95. Who cares? Who cares after that? Let's see. I think 3726 Farmhouse from yeasts. This one, Farmhouse was a private collection. I think they moved that one now into the full-time lineup, which is kind of cool. Tropical
This right here,
nose.
This aligns with your tropical Saison.
Yep. Oh, pineapple with cinnamon and clove. See, yeast never puts out that kind of information. That'd be fantastic. If it said pineapple with cinnamon and clove, woody notes, I would drink the shit out of that.
Cinnamon, clove, and wood.
That's making me thirsty. Makes me like
earthy.
Man.
Earthy, like.
I'm thirsty now.
Acidic. Oh. All right, so tell me about Yeast Bay.
Yeast Bay is another one I've not played with. I think it's another East Coast.
Is this a yeastery?
What's that?
Is this a yeastery?
Yeastery.
They make their yeast.
Oh yeah. It'll be
Okay.
a lab. Yeah.
Yeast lab.
And this list doesn't have imperial organics. So I'll do some homework on imperial organics, and we'll include some of that in the show notes as well. Yeast Bay, they've got several different blends. I've not played with them. I'm subject to what I can get a hold of easily, and I don't like to ship. I don't like to ship a lot of yeast, especially the liquid varietals. Although Saisons may be more available in dry, and so I should maybe check those things out. Would be kind of cool. Looks like that has that. The folks out at Maltos Falcons probably had their entire. It's a big club. In order to survive 50 years, you got to be a big club.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It looks like they had a lot of people contributing to that work.
Nice.
I will produce those. Put a link to that big topic in the show notes. You guys can check it out. We're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we're going to finish up the conversation on Saison, including what you can do to brew your own. So stick around.
10 Reasons to Homebrew by Northwest Brewer Supply. Part 2.
Number 7. Making beer is a lot like having kids. Kids who don't talk back, beg for money, and beer will gladly get you wasted. Number 6. Unlimited beer supply for the apocalypse, just in case. Number 5. Finally, a legitimate reason to buy giant vats and tubes without ending up on a government watch list. Number 4. Hops are a plant, so technically, it's gardening.
Straight from the home office in Burlington, it's another Top 10 with Northwest Brewer Supply.
Meet Saison, your next flavor crush. She's wild, she's dry, she might be a 3.8, or she might knock you out flat at 9.5%. Depends on the mood.
She's got range, pale gold and bubbly 1 minute, deep amber and brooding the next. Spicy, sometimes funky, only if Brett tags along. Hoppy, could be malty, maybe reliable, not a chance.
Here's her dating profile. Hi, I'm Saison. I'm rustic, a little unpredictable, and I ferment hotter than your ex's temper. I thrive in barns, garages, and wherever there's no temperature control. I like long walks in the sun, spices in my beer, and finishing so dry it'll make brute champagne look like maple syrup.
Hobbies include making brewers question their temperature controllers, wearing farmhouse chic, and ghosting BJCP guidelines.
Saison's love language? High attenuation and phenols. She's not just a beer, she's a philosophy, a state of mind, a fermentation challenge, and a reward in a glass.
Swipe right if you like surprises. Swipe left if you're scared of esters, barnyards, or beers with a personality disorder.
Saison. She's not for everyone, but then again, neither are you. All right, so you want to brew a Saison. What do you need to know? First off, probably the biggest one, you got to choose a Saison yeast. This one's like, it is all about the yeast.
Well, the style is so wide. You know, we talked about...
Pretty much do everything else.
We talked about the alcohol. We talked about the color. We talked about the hops. You know, we really didn't go much into the water. The water could be this or that.
You got
Probably
water?
Doesn't matter.
That's probably good.
You got water.
Yeah.
So,
but
there's a lot to consider.
The yeast is you got to go with the right yeast.
Go with the right yeast.
But if you throw Saison yeast at pretty much any other recipe you can, poof, it's a Saison.
Damn, Saison.
Yeah, it's a Saison.
That's what I love about
you
this
can
super style.
Let it ferment warm. Like this is, here we
Let
are.
her go.
We're in May, and like this weekend is supposed to be 80 degrees, and that's so
All
I
right,
recognize
all
this
right,
2
all
weeks
right,
later
all
before you
right.
guys hear it, but warmer weather is coming.
I've worked so hard at getting my temperature control. I've worked so hard. Hey, when I brew and I ferment, I've got it set. I'm right. I'm like, now how do I get this guy to ferment at 92 and here in Washington, even in the early summer? I mean, maybe August, but
if you set the controller for 95 degrees and the fermentation is thermogenic and inside an insulated box, I have a dual stage temp controller, so there's a heat source in there too.
Good. There you
so I
go.
can say, hey, 95 degrees, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Poof, there it is.
Tricking it out.
Wait, you don't have that? That sucks. But
all right,
if
listeners,
you're sending
I
warm,
want to know everyone who has a dual temperature control that can go.
Raise your hands. Oh, yeah, see that guy over there?
He did.
Yeah.
I'm lacking. I don't even have any temperature control. What am I talking about?
You don't have your brew stand anymore either.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
All I have is your equipment.
You should come and use it. Yeah. Make some beer. Consider some simple grain bills. But don't be afraid to throw in some adjuncts in there. Corn or rice or whatever you got lying around. I tend to like the paler varieties. In fact, all your BJCP style guidelines do have like Saison DuPont, the Boulevard 7. These are light to orange in color. So that means there's no roasted malt in there.
No, not much crystal. I wouldn't use crystal.
I don't want any cloying sweetness. I want to let the yeast. Yeast is the star of the show. She does enough. Other tips for homebrewers: don't fear the funk. There are some excellent Brett Saisons out there. In fact, White Yeast does a Brett Saison blend.
Now, is that going to be the fermentation yeast? Brett Saison. Is that what I'm not?
That was a blended culture, so I pitched both. So the Saison did the bulk of the work, and then Brett did kind of the.
So does it take a little longer?
Well, when I did an apricot Saison, Brett Saison with the limited or the private collection strain. It was so good. We drank most of it way too quickly. Yeah, and I lost. There were 2 bottles that hung out in the back of the refrigerator, got lost and buried.
I'm wondering about the fermentation.
The fermentation was fine. We just had sour.
Inoculate once and
just pitch away.
Did it take a little longer?
No,
she finished out with that mixed strain.
No, she finished out. We bottled it up in kind of the same 4 to 6 week, 3 to 6 week range.
In barrel age, you throw the bread in the longer. It's a long stage.
And we just kept popping tops on those bottles, and oh shit, we ran out except for these 2 bottles that fell over in the back of the kegerator. Couldn't see them, so they didn't get consumed. We finally found them a year later, and the Brett character was Brett with apricot. Shut up! It was, God, that was good.
Nice.
Hopping for you guys in Homebrewland. Hops are going to be typically European or Belgian, French, English, or German varieties. Kind of you're in Europe.
Yeah,
so
if you want to do the typical Saison style, you're going to keep it a little lower. But I mean, you know, the style is open. You're more than free.
I would not be afraid to do
anything.
Cascade and Citra or Citra Amarillo and Simcoe Saison. Hoppy Saison makes me kind of thirsty too.
Amarillo at 15.
But herbal, spicy, floral, going to be
Amarillo
calm.
by morning.
Yeah.
On to San Antonio.
You are looking for a balanced bitterness. Should not taste sweet, so enough bitterness to offset any of the residual sugar that is left, and that's not much. So you don't need a ton of bittering. Late additions are going to be okay. However, you don't want those to dominate the aroma spectrum either, because these yeasts produce so many cool, funky, awesome
cool
flavors
and all.
or aromas that
and
you don't want to miss out on.
Nope.
Yeah. So BJC. So tips for home brewers. That's gonna be a wrap for tips for home brewers.
Yeah.
Just get out and brew one. Don't be afraid. It's gonna be warmer weather. Get out there and brew one. I think you're gonna like it. You're gonna love it. You can get Saison DuPont to try it out for yourself. You can get that at Elizabeth Station. Come on down, brew the Valley Saison at the shop. Fantastic beer. Let's talk about why there's not a ton of information on this stuff. You know, I looked at the BJCP style guidelines. Even an article from Gordon Strong says that it's really hard to write about this style. It's so
open.
Broad, you can't really nail anything down.
No. You can kind of nail down the character of it, the farm style, the terroir.
You can talk about those things, but how do you reproduce if you're not in, Belgian countryside or something like that? You're sitting in Nebraska, brewing a batch of beer. Like, how do you make it?
It's not going to be the same terroir.
Yeah, exactly. Ray Daniels left it out completely. Doesn't even touch on the style. I don't know, like how deliberate that was.
In Kansas, like that didn't have anything else. It's probably going to be a tough get to find any wild yeast from neighbors.
Right. That's going to be a thing. Let's do final thoughts.
So, if you're a home brewer, Saison is like your blank canvas.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's why. If you're new, this is a forgiving style.
Pale ale malts, pilsner malts, wheat malts,
Wide
oat
open.
malts, rye malts, whatever you want to throw at
Just
it.
don't go dark. Don't go dark.
No black beer. No. Well, I'm sure there is a black Saison. If there's a black IPA, there probably is a black Saison, and we just don't have it in our
Maybe
house
we
today.
need to make something like
Yesterday.
that. That would be amazing. I can stain beer like no other.
Yeah. If you're just getting started in this hobby, Saisons are pretty forgiving too. The yeast is doing, well, the yeast in all beers is doing all of the work. We just make work. We're just making a house for yeast. They are the ones making all the magic happen. But the Saison strains,
we're the caregivers.
They do a ton of work, low input, ton of work. And even if you're experienced,
Just
gosh
enjoy it.
damn, this is. How many ways can you experiment and customize and play around with different ingredient ratios, from wheat to rye to oats to spelt to
Right. And we were just last episode we were just talking about designing your recipe.
Yeah.
So find a Saison, start with it, and
you pretty much can't go wrong.
build it.
You can't even say, oh, you can't.
Right.
I don't know if you can be wrong.
Experiment.
Like, if you put a Saison yeast with pretty much whatever you do, it would be hard to say, well, that's not to style.
Right. That's a Saison for sure.
So when in doubt,
All right.
ferment it hot and stay dry, kids.
Stay dry. What do we got next week, Ben?
Oh gosh, what should we talk about next week?
We didn't even know what we were going to talk about this week last week.
I knew what I was going to talk about,
Oh, you knew. You didn't.
but I probably didn't mention it on the show.
You didn't mention it. You didn't tell everybody.
I've got a list of topics that I'd love to talk about. If you're sitting out there listening and there's something you're dying to know,
We're going to keep you at the edge of your seat, just waiting.
drop us a line on Facebook or brew at nwbrewers.com. or the comment section of YouTube or Spotify. You can leave comments there. But if you have questions, we want to know about them. We want to make sure we're delivering on this show the kind of information you really want to know about. But as far as next week, we're gonna see. I've got a couple of projects I've got.
We'll have fun.
Let's see which one I finish writing first.
We'll have fun.
How about that?
Oh, this beer's so good. I
God,
haven't
it
had
is.
any of
I'm
that.
surprised you have any left.
I've been enjoying
I'm
it.
out of beer.
There's a tiny bit in the bottom.
I'm out of beer, and that's going to be a wrap for the show. Thanks, you all, for joining us. Check us out. Check out the back catalog. If you haven't heard the Kvike episode, go friggin' do that. That's probably the coolest thing we've done all year.
It was.
Lots of fun.
Pretty cool.
So go check it out. Thanks for all for joining us.
Subscribe.
Another Wednesday night.
Thanks for listening.
On
We appreciate all of you.
This has been another episode of The Beer Craft.